Maharaj. Thank you very much.
All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you.
Hare Krishna, devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Krishna Prabhupada. All glories to our revered speaker for today, His Grace SARVATMA Prabhu. And all glories to the Assembly Vaishnava devotees. We thank you all for being here as always. And Sri SARVATMA Prabhu, thank you so much for being here. Hare Krishna, thank you. I think we have 3 verses to cover today. So maybe we can just put them on the screen and you begin to speak.
Sure.
Okay. Hare Krishna, thank you.
Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Naranam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Dirayat Nasta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Tamash Loke Bhaktir Bhavati Nastaki. Manur Manu Mahinaso Mahanchiva Ritadvaja Ugrarita Bhava Kalo Vamadevo Dritavrata. These are all names of Rudra. Lord Brahma said, "My dear boy Rudra, you have 11 other names: Manu, Manu, Mahinasa, Mahan, Shiva, Ritadvaja, Ugrareta, Bhavakala, Vamadevan, Dritavrata." Text 13. Tir Dritira Salomacha, Niyut Sarapir, Ilambika, Iravati Sodadiksha, Rudra Nyo Rudra Testriya. O Rudra, you also have 11 wives called the Rudranis, and they are as follows: Ti, Triti, Rasala, Uma, Niyut, Sarpi, Ila, Ambika, Iravati, Swada, and Diksha. Text 14. Griha Naitani Namani Starani Chasa Yoshana Ebishija Praja Bhavi Prajanam Asiyatpati. Translation on purport by Srila Prabhupada. My dear boy, you may now accept all the names and places designated for you and your different wives. And since you are now one of the masters of the living entities, you may increase the population on a large scale. Purport. Brahma, as the father of Rudra, selected the wives of his son, his living places, and his names as well. It is natural that one should accept the wife selected by one's father, just as a son accepts the name given by the father, or as he accepts the property offered by the father. That is the general course in increasing the population of the world. On the other hand, the Kumaras did not accept the offering of their father because they were elevated far beyond the business of generating a great number of sons. As a son can refuse the order of a father for higher purposes, so the father can refuse to maintain his sons in increasing population because of higher purposes. Umagyana timirandasya gyananjana shalakaya chaksuramriditang jena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Mishwaram Vanchakalpatarvyascha Kripasindhuvya Vacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. So here, as a continuation of a conversation between Maitreya and Vidura, they are Maitreya said that after, again, Vidura takes a humble position and inquires from Maitreya. Vidura is a pure devotee. Maitreya is not exactly a pure devotee, but close enough, and a great sage and senior. So Maitreya said, okay, I describe the Supreme Personality of Godhead as time, and now I'm going to explain about Lord Brahma and whatever else comes after Lord Brahma, which in this case, he was meditating how to increase the population, because it was a large planet and he needed people. It's a large universe, actually, and he needed people. And he started with the Kumaras, and the Kumaras kind of went back on his plan, because the Kumaras were transcendentalists, one can say. They were looking for liberation. They didn't really know that they were looking for bhakti, but somehow or other they found it by smelling the tulsi leaves at the feet of Lord Vishnu. And they rejected the order, the increase the population. They said, no, we're not going to grow up, because you need to be mature in order to have intercourse. And they didn't want anything to do with that. So they decided, no, we're staying at 5, and that's it. That's it for us. We're not even going to bother to dress ourselves up or try to look good. Nothing. Just self-realization is our pursuit. So Lord Brahma, he tried to control himself. He felt anger, and the anger manifested between his eyebrows. You can see when people get angry, their brow kind of shrinks up, and you can see the anger reflected in the eyes and the eyebrows, like in the old silent movies when they couldn't express words, so you could see that someone was angry by their eyebrows moving towards the center. So this is a universal expression. But Lord Brahma is an ordinary being, so Rudra came out from between the eyebrows and came in red and blue, just like, when you order shoes or a purse, they come in different colors. So Lord Rudra came in red and blue. I think it's a mix. So the color of Rudra is, if I'm correct about this, is purple, because that's a combination that you get from red and blue. Just like you get brown from a combination of color, and you get green from a combination of colors. So you get purple from a combination of red and blue. So, and he was the product of anger. So he came pretty angry himself from a get-go, and didn't know his position, didn't know his name. So here Lord Brahma is explaining, no, you have this many names, and you have some wives, and these are the names, and you should increase the population. And Lord Shiva got to work, but he got people like him, and they were very angry, and they started destroying the universe. That's because that's in their nature. Just like people say, well, it's in my nature. We know the story of the scorpion and the camel, that they needed to cross a river, and it's easy for the camel to cross a river, and it's not easy for a scorpion. They don't swim. So he asked the camel to cross the river, and the camel said, "Nope, nope, I'm not taking you on. I know you're how you are. You're gonna sting me." And the scorpion reasoned with the camel. That is stupid. If I sting you, then we'll both drown. So the camel, not the smartest animal, thought about it, and okay. So he took him in the middle of a river. Of course, he got stung by the scorpion and said, "Why? Why?" And the scorpion said, "It's my nature." So we can see here, Lord Shiva's nature is to destroy. That's his job. Just like when someone has been working at a certain job for many, many years, that they carry that home. It's just part of their nature. So Lord Brahma wasn't too happy about it. And he said, "Well, son, you have to actually perform penances and austerities for your benefit and the benefit of everybody else." So Lord Shiva, being obedient to his father, he did just that. So one of the things that Lord Brahma created kind of first, and this is curious because he had so many powers and all good things. Like I was reading that writing comes, creative writing comes out of Lord Brahma, poetry comes out of Lord Brahma, religion comes out of Lord Brahma, his chest, and religion from his back, and simple activity, just everything comes from him. So why did he get to work? And the first thing that he did create was the nescient. Okay, got it right. Nescient engagements like self-deception, sense of death, anger after frustration, the sense of false ownership, and the illusory bodily conception of forgetfulness, one's real identity. This is curious that he created the defects, and these are all defects found in every living entity. Not the only solution to overcome or transcend basically these bad qualities and these tendencies is to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no second choice. There is no, okay, what about if? No, there is no what about if. It's the only solution. So in a clip that I heard from Srila Prabhupada yesterday, Prabhupada was saying that worshiping Krishna is religion, and everything else is irreligion. Just that was quite a blanket statement from Prabhupada. Of course, Prabhupada is pushing his brand, but his brand happens to be the right one. It's not that if you're worshiping God under a different name or a different process of worship, that's irreligion. But Prabhupada discounted that as saying, well, why bother? Why bother? Like if you're gonna buy chocolate, buy the best. Don't buy these, cheap 10 bars for $1 at the 7-Eleven. You're not gonna be satisfied. So Prabhupada is offering his Rolls Royce process, the one by which you could be really happy permanently. Because even if you choose a different type of worship, eventually you have to learn that your God is actually Krishna and start over. Not completely, but pretty much change. Yeah, if you have a horse race and you're mounted on a mule, eventually you will have to change because the horses are going to run circles around you. So this, again, I'm not comparing. I'm just saying that ultimately, the personality of God is the object of everybody's affection, not some triple O God, omniscient, omnipotent, and omnibenevolent, because it's not enough information to fall in love. Just like if you go on a dating app and they give you no picture of your date, very little information, hardly any, you know, okay, where does she live? Oh, way up north. Yeah, okay. What does she look like? Nobody has seen her. Okay. What is she nice? Sometimes. Yes, this is not enough to fall in love. This is not enough even to have a first date. So why should we settle for a date with God where we don't know hardly anything about God? That God is a person. So let me see. Let me see what I'm getting. And does God speak English? Yes, he speaks all the languages. He even speaks with, the language of the animals. He can speak with the parrots in Vrindavan in perfectly understandable parrot language. And is he good? Yes, he is very good. And the fact is that we, or not we, hopefully not we, but people accuse God of being almost a monster as he gives sense punishment to innocent children, for example, not understanding the relationship between the soul and God. They just think in terms of the body. And even if he punishes, he never harms the soul. It's just for example, someone may need, and when I grew up, I was 5 years old when the 60s came in. And at that time, there was an epidemic of polio. So fortunately, the polio vaccine was a few drops in a cube of sugar. Wasn't like the rest of the vaccines that you have to drop your pants and they put a large needle into your juice maximum. But some of the vaccines, like for measles or smallpox or something like that, they were given in the arm or in the rear, and they were painful. So is that pain considered cruelty, or it's just a measure to avoid further damage? So this is the punishment that is dispensed by God is simply to avoid further distress, much larger distress. So I do have a friend, and I heard this argument more than once, who is a doctor, and he's a surgeon, so he sees a lot of in South America. So he sees a lot of apparent injustice going on, like children get this cancer and meningitis and just horrible deforming diseases. So he can't make the association. He just thinks God either doesn't exist or is not one of the triple O's. It's not omnibenevolent, all good, because he allows this so-called injustice going on. But this is not true. This is not true. Krishna never harms the soul, and Krishna is simply delivering the result of one's karma. Children are not innocent. They're not victims. They're not children either. They're simply a soul that, after living in a horrible life as an adult, changes body, takes the body of a child, and it needs to receive some kind of either compensation or punishment because of their previous activities. The same soul in a different body. And because it's a baby's body or a child's body, people think it's injustice. No, it's simply a continuation. There's a full story there, and people only want to believe the most recent. They forget about this. So Lord Brahma first needs to create the nescient engagements, self-deception. We can talk all day about self-deception. They say that the greatest profit in any business is to buy a person for what he's worth and sell him for what he thinks is worth. That the profit margin is enormous. So self-deception means we believe all kinds of things about ourselves that are not true, simply not true. We're not objective. So Lord Brahma had to create that first, then the sense of death, because we're eternal. So we don't have any sense of death. So that has to be established. And death is the interruption of all our plans. Curiously enough, people try to avoid that. But Lord Brahma had to establish that in order for us to realize that this is a temporary state. If you hand out a paper saying, are you going to die? Yes, no, everybody will say yes. But if you study people's lifestyles, they think they're not going to die. Yudhishthira Maharaj asserted that when facing a yaksha, and he had to answer a bunch of very difficult questions. And one of them was, what's the most amazing thing in this world? And he said, well, that's an easy one. That's an ahani ahani bhutani gachantihi jamalayam. Everybody's lining up, waiting for Yamaraj to dispense punishment or go into the kingdom of death. And everybody in that line is thinking, not me. The next guy, yes. Everybody behind me, yes. Not me. And I don't know if this is from Chanakya Pandit, but I heard that one should do business as if one was immortal, and one should perform religious austerities as if one were to die immediately. So the sense of death is there to wake us up. Unfortunately, most people are sleeping, and they don't want to deal with it. Try it. Try it at a family dinner. Talk about death. See how it goes. Nobody's going to invite you anymore. This is the sense of death. It's something that needs to be present in order for people to have the impetus to practice self-realization. Then anger. After frustration, because that's how anger is triggered. They say from lust, meaning unsatisfied desires, anger comes. But anger comes in the same way after frustration. One is frustrated about something. It's very difficult to control oneself. Even the sages have a hard time with anger. They actually can't control lust sometimes. And even Lord Brahma had a hard time though, and he had to give up his body in shame because he felt attracted sexually towards his daughter, even though his daughter wasn't in the same wavelength, let's say. So out of frustration, he had to give up his body. And the sense of false ownership. Is there a need to explain that? We believe things are ours, even though we came to this world with nothing. We own nothing. We don't even own this body. Because if you own this body, then stop from aging. If you're the owner, you can do that. If you created it, then you should stop old age from taking place. You should not grow old. So the sense of false ownership, like I own this body, I own my family, this country's my country, we own the right to do this. It's just all self-deception. And ultimately, the illusory bodily conception, which is to forget who we really are. This is a disease that everybody suffers from. So here is Lord Brahma explaining to Rudradev his name, his position, and the names of his wives. And finally, he's telling him that now accept this, the names, the places, different wives, and you are designated. This is Lord Brahma saying to Shiva, as one of the masters of the living entities. So please populate the world. And the purport Prabhupada refers to is natural that one should accept the wife selected by the father. He's not talking about Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, it's just in general. And if you study Srila Prabhupada's life, that's what he did, because Prabhupada selected a different woman to marry, and his father said, no, I want you to marry this other woman. And Prabhupada said, I'm not attracted to her. And Prabhupada's father says, that's great. That's even better. Because Srila Prabhupada's father, Gaur Mohan De, was a pure devotee, and he could see somehow he got inspiration from Krishna that that was going to be a good thing, because it's very difficult to give up family members, even if they are inimical to one's practice of bhakti, because of attachment. So she didn't make a huge mistake, only traded Prabhupada's only handwritten copy of the Bhagavad Gita for biscuits. So that's not a big offense, right? And he controlled himself, because if that happened to any of us, we would have strangled her. At least that will be the first thought, that you your life work translating the Bhagavad Gita into English for the purpose of delivering all conditioned souls, and somebody traded this for Indian biscuits meant for tea. So Prabhupada decided, okay, this is the catalyst. This is the sign from Krishna that I should walk away. And that became a very good thing for everyone, for all of us, for sure, and for everybody else in the next 1,000 generations. So one should accept, according to tradition, one should accept the wife that the father selects. At least in the Indian tradition, this happened because they have, supposedly, they have the son's interest in mind. But nowadays, things are so topsy-turvy that you don't know who wants what. People are so selfish and narcissistic that usually when, I mean, we see it. I don't follow the news, I don't read the news, but sometimes it gets filtered. Some news, like mothers killing their children. I mean, when this is unprecedented, and children killing the parents. This is a crazy society we live in. The index of divorce and separation, and disagreement, and violence is at an all-time high. So, because of a kind of society we live in, it's hard to see who is our benefactor and who is not. But in any case, in a just society where parents love their kids and the kids love their parents, and parents are enlightened to a certain degree, then perhaps that is a good thing to do because the parents are adults and they can judge much better. They even say that until one turns 30, the frontal cortex is not fully developed. So anybody who makes decisions before the age of 30 may regret that due to poor brain power. So the parents, if they are saintly and just parents, will select someone who will be just like the parents select the name for the child. Of course, there is a caveat that in Japan, there is a custom of naming a child with a number until the child is old enough to name himself or herself. So anyway, this is other things, and the Kumaras, they didn't accept the offer of their parents because of Lord Brahma, because they had different interests, and the interest was laudable. It wasn't an object of criticism. They wanted to practice self-realization, and what's wrong with that? So that's why they turned down the offer of having wives and populating the world. We are not the Kumaras, so we should accept, even if not from our parents, from our elders, from our seniors, from those who actually care about us and have spiritual acumen, and they can see beyond our the pull of our senses, what's good for us. So that's more or less what I gather from the conversation between Vidura Maitreya, which is at this point is a conversation between Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. And I'll welcome. Usually, I go longer than this, but we can just take questions, comments, and realizations at this point. As I do have an excuse. I'm still a little jet lagged. We just arrived a week ago from a nice tour of Europe where we did some classes and kirtans in 4 different countries. So it was quite nice, but it takes a bit to recover from traveling. Is Chanakya Pandit who said that journey acts as old age to men, as celibacy to women, confinement to horses, and heat to clothes. So journey ages men, and we can see our swamis that all of a sudden are dropping like flies because they've been traveling. And of course, Chanakya Pandit, when he said journey, he meant you go 15 kilometers a month in an ox cart, and not 6,500 miles at 34,000 feet at 600 miles an hour every week. That will actually age you and kill you. pretty easily. And celibacy to women, that doesn't mean that women should not be celibate in order to look younger. It's actually talking about having kids. Women that have kids, they actually remain younger. And confinement to horses, if you put a horse in a barn instead of letting him loose on the fields, the horse will age rapidly. And heat to clothes, you can experience that if you hang your clothes in the sun or if you put them in the dryer, their lifespan will be much shorter. So on that note, do we have anything from the esteemed audience?
Well, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, His Grace SARVATMA Prabhu. And it's nice you talked about the jet lag from your trip to Europe. And I actually wanted to ask something in that regard, but you already talked about it, how our Swamis, gurus keep traveling, flying from one continent to another, almost non-stop around the year. It's unbelievable. Dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, reflections, comments, realizations, you may want to ask, share, please indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask your question or share your reflections. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, I have this question which you touched on a little bit about Srila Prabhupada saying in the purport that just as the father gives a name to the child and the child accepts, which is very logical, in the same way the father gives a wife to the child and the child accepts. I'm finding it a bit difficult in this age how that actually works. Of course, I picked my own wife, and I say that because my father passed away before I grew up to the age I could find a wife. So that is a different story. But generally, men choose their own wives, and women also want to choose their own husbands. So if Lord Brahma, who is the head of this sampradaya we're trying to follow, did that, and Srila Prabhupada himself, whom we're following, also did that, how feasible, how is that workable in our organization where parents may choose spouses for their children? And should we even try to do it at all in this age?
Well, as I was saying, the frontal cortex of a person doesn't develop until the age of 30, I think 29 or 30. So people are immature up until that point. They can't really make a considerably sensible decision. Parents have more resources and more interests, and so they could do a chart. They can meet the parents. They can study maybe mental health and their in-laws and the whole family. They can see if their financial situation and they will be able to support, or it will they need help. There's a lot of decisions that come with, and whereas young people that are just simply physically attracted to each other can make really bad decisions based on impulse, just like a bad cook that goes into a house and looks at different things and tries to put something together and cooks. It's what it looks like food, but it's actually terrible. So the advantage of choosing your own mate is that you have no one else to blame. So the parents are out of the picture at that point. But it's nice to have help when it comes to anything. Just like when you get home from school and you just don't understand a math problem or something like that, you approach your parents. Your parents try to guide you and tell you, "Oh, this seems this way," or your mother, helps you dress up. So, no, you look like a clown. Try again. Maybe this shirt will fit better, and that has a rip in the back, etc., etc. If the parents have good intentions, they usually can help you. At least they can give you guidance. And when I mean guidance, I don't mean to exactly choose for you, but they can tell you the warnings about why not to choose someone or why this is a good candidate. Just like guardrails on a road, they're simply meant they're meant for guidance, just to avoid an accident. If a car veers off a road, at least it won't go off the precipice. So this is what parents' function should be: to guide, to counsel, to help one make decisions that they are not purely based on physical attraction or the mode of passion. So I'm not sure not everybody gets the same set of parents. Some parents can be trusted, and some parents have themselves a horrible marriage, so they can't advise their children about it. So it's an individual choice, and it's a historical one, and it may have worked when people were decent. Nowadays, I couldn't tell you. It's case by case. So, but I will suggest that if one is young and the parents are loving and sensitive and sensible, then parents should be consulted for things like that, especially major decisions. You're actually going to move in and live with someone for the rest of your life, supposedly. So it is, if the person has, beautiful features, that's not good enough. The beautiful features, if you are going to live with this person long enough, they're going to go away. Eventually, all beauty fades. That's the nature of this world, and that's the nature of the body. And one has to see beyond that. That beauty is skin deep. The only thing that is beautiful is the soul, and because the body, even a body, let's take the situation of a beautiful man or a beautiful woman. If that everybody is attracted to some celebrity, but if that person drops dead, no one is attracted to. Maybe in a morbid way, but no one is attracted to, because the soul is gone. So the beauty is in the soul, it's not in the body. The same body is there, the same so-called beauty is there, beautiful features, but it's dead. So nobody wants to have anything to do with that. So that's why the consultation with adults comes handy. And the adults should have, obviously, common sense and a sense of aesthetics and etc. and intelligence to make a proper decision themselves. Not that all adults are like that. Is that a fair answer to your question? You're muted.
Yes. Yes. Sometimes we level blames at different people, but it's difficult in the sense that if it is winter and someone has to put on thick, warm clothing, and you want the person to dress lightly, the weather is not allowing that person to dress lightly. The weather compels the individual to dress warmly. Now we are in this age of color where common sense does not even exist anymore, practically speaking. So how is it going to be possible for parents to even choose for their children when the children already have their own plans? And like we say, if you pour water on the ground, the water finds its own way. And if you try to redirect it, it still finds its own way somehow. So it's difficult, and I don't know if because of the nature of the age, making things that difficult, if parents are unable to pick for their loved ones, their children, and may God forbid something goes wrong in the course of the relationship, the father may not be held responsible. I'm asking these questions because it is said in the scriptures that if one cannot save his dependent, his children, from going to hell or whatever, then you should not become a father. But now you are a father, and the age, the influence of the age is not making it possible, or I should say easy, for the parents to engage in their responsibilities. And yet they're going to be held responsible. I don't know if that will be a fair judgment. I don't know if you have something to say in that regard, because especially if the father desires to have somebody suitable for their loved ones, but their loved ones say, no, I have my own choice. And if things go wrong and nature has to hold the parents responsible, I don't think that is fair, but who am I? So it's a complex age. I don't know.
You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make him drink. This is there should be a disclaimer in parents when they make decisions. Like, I am just guiding myself by common sense and principles and history and experience, etc., etc. Ultimately, it has to be your choice, Junior, to choose your own mate and your own family and your own dynasty. But I can give you advice based on my experience and my vision. So, but please, just make your own decision. And you have to make a decision. Means it's an informed decision. Means there are choices, and the different alternatives, and the possible outcome of the different alternatives. So children usually are not endowed with that kind of vision and amplitude. That's why parents try to help. But again, the parents should issue a claim of ultimately non-responsibility. Like, this is a disclaimer. I'm giving you this. These are your choices, and you You choose whatever you think is best. And parents, if the parents are healthy mentally, they will want what's best for the child. The parents are happy when the children are happy. That's the main principle. So you give them the choices, you point out what choice is the most appropriate or what you think is best, but ultimately you have to make the choice, Junior. And if you choose what I suggested as the best choice, you still have to understand that is I could be wrong. So it's if it is a relationship where love is the fundamental factor between them, then there will be no resentment if things fail and no blame. But it's hard to achieve nowadays. Is kids blame their parents for everything that is wrong and praise themselves for everything that is right. So how do you get out of that one? It's very difficult. And parenthood has become a total mess. Like parents tell their children, you're perfect. You're perfect the way you are. That's a horrible thing to say to anybody. No, you're not perfect. There is plenty of room for improvement. Or you can be whatever you want to be. No, you can't. You're an idiot. You will never be Einstein. So tell them that. That's more accurate than saying you're a genius because you were able to put the fork back in the drawer in the right drawer. No, that's not the sign of a genius. So sometimes the kids are not to be blamed. I've seen, and I may have told this example, I've seen here one mother that she needed, I helped my wife Divya run the boutique here. So this mother said she needed new neck beads because her neck beads broke. So I said, okay, it was in a different part of the farm. I said, I'll drive you there and we'll get some neck beads. And, it's a 5-minute operation and we'll come back. So this mother addressed her daughter, age 4 at the time, and said, can we go get beads? I need neck beads for myself. And the girl said, no. And then she turned back to me and said, I'm sorry, I can't go.
What?
And I was puzzled. So I asked her, did you just ask a 4-year-old for permission to get neck beads? Did I just witness that? And she said, yes. I said, that's horrible. I wish I didn't have to witness that. So she didn't get the neck beads. So this is how love is manifested in certain people, that they allow 4-year-olds to run their lives in the name of love. That's not love. That's spoiling. That's enabling a 4-year-old who has the brain the size of a chickpea to make decisions about their own life. So things have to change drastically. I'm not advocating for corporal punishment and neglect and indifference and so on, but this unrequited, so-called unrequited love and dependence, like my parents, they were much older than me when I was born. They were older, and they, of course, because they were much older than me and they came from a couple of generations past, they always indicated how I should live my life, how should I think, what should I do, what should I, etc., etc. So or punishment, go to your room, or no dinner or stuff like that. So because I was rebellious, you could say, at least of that attitude, I always chose the punishment. I never chose to obey. Just not. I was not conceding. You do this or you get punished. Fine, I'll take the punishment. So eventually, when I was 18, I think, I had left home for a couple of years. I came back from a long trip to Middle East and Europe, and they again try this technique, well, you should do this with your life. And so basically I sat down for the first time. I took the trouble to do this, and I wrote a 3-page essay on how their life was a failure, not mine. And they were projecting, and they were trying to live vicariously through me, the frustrating life that they never had. And so I sat them down and I explained point by point, and I gave them the only copy that I had. I just wrote it down and gave it to them. I explained it to them, and here, you keep it. Now, how do you like that? How do you like when your son that you're trying to direct every minutia of their lives actually sees a little more than you do? How do you like that? So the next day, they were quite stressed out and surprised and shocked by the revelation of seeing that their son was not just a little kid that didn't think things through and didn't do things right. So the next day, they started consulting me about their own decisions. So I said, I'm not the parent. I don't want to be the parent in this relationship. So I'm going to leave. So I just picked up my things and moved out immediately. I didn't waste any time. So parents, sometimes they try to live vicariously through their kids, or kids with a high level of immaturity try to correct an age-old tradition and normalcy in their parents because they think it's boring, even though it is useful and may lead to a good life. So their relationships are very mixed up, and family relationships are dysfunctional in many of the cases. So parents can't trust their kids because the kids are hiding stuff from the parents. Kids cannot trust their parents because they don't know if the parents have the best intentions and they are mentally sane enough to give good advice. So family dynamics is a very difficult complex, and the main issue, I would say, is love and trust. And if there is no love and trust in a relationship, then that relationship would not prosper, would not work, whether it is for material advice or spiritual advice. So love and trust is the basis of all relationships. And if you don't have that, then you have nothing. Then that relationship is doomed to failure, even if it makes sense and it looks like it makes sense. It eventually will collapse. So that's my little 2 cents on the issue.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Your 2 cents happen to be $100 bill. Thank you for the explanation, especially the actual situation that took place in your presence that you shared with us. As weird as most of us sitting here see it to be, which I think it is, it's so common that these days, lots of parents will just listen to their immature children's feelings and just do what the kid is saying. I mean, there are so many examples which are not really nice to be shared on this noble platform. But we all have experiences how sometimes parents just do whatever their children tell them to do as a sign of love to their kids. It's unbelievable. But thank you for sharing that with us. Arichakra Prabhu, please.
One second.
Okay.
1 second. I want to comment on that. Like sometimes a mother has a child who is a drug addict, and the child is asking the mother for help financially to maintain his habit. And the mother, out of love, gives him money. That's enabling. That is not, because his love is not filtered through common sense. So that's enabling someone who is actually ill to do harm. So that love does more harm than good. So that's why we need intelligence to intervene in every single decision that we make. It's not just out of a good heart that you do something. Like if you give, let's say you wanna, you're suffering, you have some illness, and you're suffering, and you know the terrible pain, and you just tolerate it, even though there is a way for palliative medicine to take care of it. There is a way to eliminate the pain, but you decide to suffer. That is austerity in a mode of ignorance. That's not conducive to any good result. That is unnecessary. So sometimes decisions like giving money to a drug addict son out of love is a charity in the mode of ignorance. So these are things that we have to analyze before we act upon them. So for children to, be allowed to make all their decisions because the parents want the child not to suffer and not to be frustrated, sometimes results in a decision which is absolutely in the mode of ignorance. And is a bad decision, ultimately, because, obviously, there are three types of, Prabhupada described three types of persons. The one who learns by the experience of others, the one who learns by their own experience, and the one that never learns. So we should try to be first class and listen to good advice and not try to experience everything by ourselves. Just like a child, unless the idea comes from them, they won't do it. So this is a very childish attitude. So sometimes our children need to be cared for and nurtured and listened to. But if the decision that the conclusion that they come is wrong, then we should intervene. We should act upon it, not that out of love we'd let them make mistakes, particularly if the mistakes are going to harm their life in the short or long term. Okay, that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Harichakra Prabhu, yes, please give me unmute. Harichakra Prabhu.
I think we
Hello?
made him fall asleep.
Sir, you
All
can
right.
go on. You can go on. I'm doing something. I'll
right.
get back. I'll come back.
Anyone else with something to ask or to share? Because I had a second question. This was actually discussed, I would say, just about a week ago. And I asked a question, but it was not exactly what this question I have based on the text. I did not ask this particular question. And you brought it up today. So I think I find that as an opportunity to ask you this question, because you made reference to verses 2 and 3 of this chapter of this canto, where Lord Brahma was talking about what he initially created, the nation, which are all like ignorance. And later on, he thought about it and he didn't feel very happy that he created these nations. And he got himself involved in very serious meditation on the Supreme Lord. Now, the question I have in this regard is, Lord Brahma created these nations. He didn't want to, but because he was asked by the Supreme Lord to create them, he had to, so he created them. If the Supreme Lord asked him to create these nations, why does he feel that they are improper and therefore he has to purify himself by engaging in meditation? Just to purify himself, because what he did was improper. How is it improper when he was asked by the Supreme Lord himself to do it?
Well, I don't think it's improper. That's I have a problem with that particular word. I think it's the same way that the governor asks a city planner to create a new city with all the diagonals and parks and all the specifics of a new town that will be eventually populated, is not populated at the time. And he asked him to create a prison as well, a jail or a prison. So does the city planner feel happiness by creating a park? Yes. Does he feel happiness by creating a prison? No. But it's part of a blueprint. Why? Because some people will disobey the law and they will not be seen at the park. They will be seen in prison. So does he feel that he's done something wrong? No. But does he need a vacation after creating the prison? Most likely. He'll probably, spend a few days in some beach trying not to meditate on having created an environment where there are bars everywhere, locks everywhere, there's solitary confinement cells, and there's vigilance, the complete elimination of privacy, where they watch you 24 hours a day, whether you're answering the call of nature or reading a book, you're being watched at all times. Does he feel good about that? No. Is it improper? No, it is not improper. It is a duty that he had to fulfill. Just like Arjuna. Did he feel bad about killing his own relatives? Of course. Did he feel it was improper after Krishna explained to him what the situation was? No, he didn't. Because Krishna told him, there's no way you're going to kill anybody, and there's no way you're going to save anybody. They are the souls, and this body has been already annihilated by me. You can't see that, but they're all dead anyway. But they are not really dead because they're souls. So I have an issue with the word improper. I don't think it's improper. It's inconvenient. It doesn't feel good about it, but he had to do it. This is his duty. So Lord Brahma had to create nations, yes. The feeling of death, yes. The confusion about who we are, yes, he had to. He had to. This is part of a material world, comes with all of it. That's what's in the glove compartment when you buy the car. All these other things, you know. And you know, when you get the manual of instructions and for the operator of the vehicle in the glove compartment, if you open it up to the last few pages, there is at least 10 pages of troubleshooting. You see, it's a brand new car, but it comes with 10 pages of troubleshooting. If this light goes on, if the car doesn't start, blah, 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 blah. It's just all the imponderables, which are not so imponderable. They will happen at one time or another. So if you have trouble with the material world, well, there is a solution. Become a transcendentalist. And if you think the place is ideal, Lord Brahma will, you know, explain to you that no, actually, it's not so ideal. These are the things that are included in the last 10 pages of the book.
Thank you. Actually, the word used is misleading creation. And Lord Brahma considered it to be a sinful task. That is per his judgment. But I believe that is not the judgment to the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord does not think it's a sinful task because the living entities deserved it.
It's tailor-made. It's tailor-made according to our specifications. It's just that we just want, you know, okay, so you like ice cream, so you want, okay, you want this many scoops of this many flavors and this other thing, and he has an enormous amount of corn syrup and sugar and things that will cause, you know, stomach distress and intestinal distress and cavities and so on. Hey, you wanted it, you know, you wanted to be in this world. Krishna didn't send you here. You brought yourself in. We have to change our attitude. So it's not his problem. And he sent an engineer to take care of all the, you know, who done it, all this stuff, you know, all the details. So do not complain. This is what you wanted to be. It was a wrong place to be, but that's what we wanted. So you want the ice cream, but you don't want the stomach ache and the cavities. Oh, you gotta start from scratch. You cannot have just the regular stuff.
Yeah. I mean, this, I don't know, but it kind of tells me that it's not so easy to worship God. It's very difficult because under normal circumstances, Lord Brahma wouldn't have wanted to create these nations, but he was ordered by the Supreme Lord to do that. Also in the case of Arjuna, more especially Yudhishthira, they didn't want, especially Yudhishthira, they didn't want to engage in this battle of Kurukshetra, but they had to because the Supreme Lord willed it and wanted to use them as the instrument. And even after the war and everything had become so vividly clear to Maharaj Yudhishthira and the Pandavas, why the battle took place, Maharaj Yudhishthira was still lamenting, even after the war. For so long, he felt that he is the cause of all these problems these widows were having. And so I'm saying that it's very difficult to worship God because the Lord may ask you as his devotee to do something that just on your own you wouldn't want to, but the Lord says do it. I don't know, maybe I'm not getting it right, but I think it's very difficult to worship God in the sense that you have your own feelings and desires, but the Supreme Lord says, put your desires down, do mine. Well, I'll end it there. Arichakra Prabhu, are you available to ask your question or share your reflections?
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Okay, go ahead.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. All glories to Guruji, all glories to Prabhupada, and all glories to you and the assembled devotees. Yeah, I was just reflecting on the issue of how Lord Brahma, Prabhupada was saying in the purport that parents, as they give name to their children, they as well choose the partners for their children. And I can remember growing up in the 60s and the 70s. Our parents were doing the same thing in Africa. It's of late that a lot of the Western mentality has infiltrated there. That's where we are now missing a lot of things. Because I remember during that time, because of the community existence, before you even get married, your parents will want to go to either the girls' family to check and see everything, that you are actually going to a good family. And then it's not only your parents, the people in the community. There might be some things that you don't know, but somebody in the community might know, and they will come and whisper it to your parents. And all those combined helps your parent make the right decision for you. And we could understand during that time, divorce was not rampant. It was really, really difficult for someone who is married to get divorced. But unfortunately, now that that Western mentality has infiltrated our system so bad, now it's like divorce is like what do we call it? It's like drinking water. People get married today, and maximum like 2-3 months they are divorced. So yeah, I guess. But what is happening now? What I'm feeling is that even now the parents ourselves, we are deranged. We are not in our proper consciousness, and based on that, even if we are given the chance to choose for the case, we might still go wrong because we ourselves we are not in the proper consciousness. And I think maybe that is one of the reasons why the children doesn't want us to choose for them. Because we ourselves we are not in our proper consciousness. But I think all things being equal, like if the parents are a very elevated people spiritually, then usually most of the time the decisions they take for the case ends up to be good. So I guess as devotees, that is what we do. If we are able to situate ourselves properly, then the chances that our kids will listen to us will be high. It will be higher level. But if they don't see us do, then what else? Because I remember one time Vasudev Maharaj was saying that one little boy approached him and asked him that, Maharaj, is it okay that when someone is chanting, the person will also be at the same time you'll be watching TV and chanting? And Maharaj said, no. If you are chanting, you have to concentrate and chant. And the little boy said, okay. But he didn't say anything. And Vasudev Maharaj said, why did you ask? And he said, because my parents are always watching TV and their hand is in the chanting bag and they are chanting. So it's a situation like this. How would this boy feel comfortable listening to the instructions that the parent is giving? So I guess sometimes we have to be better examples for the kids to really be ready to accept the advice that we give them. Because I know when we were kids, even when grown-ups were having a conversation, as a kid, you cannot be there. They will just ask you to go out. And if you dare, try to give, what do we call it, your opinion when the elders are speaking. Oh, that was a red flag for you. Yeah, so I guess, well, what Prabhupada is saying it used to be very, very true, but of late we cannot tell what to do. Unless if we follow what Prabhupada is telling us, maybe when we become like we get some of our part of our consciousness purified enough, then somehow or the other, maybe our instructions or our advice to our case will be good ones.
I digress a little bit, and in the sense that it's not just purity, it's not just Prabhupada said, therefore, somebody was chanting japa when Prabhupada was around. Prabhupada was there, and they were listening to a tape of Prabhupada chanting japa while they were chanting japa. And Prabhupada asked, "What are you doing?" "I'm listening to you. I'm chanting my rounds and listening to you chanting Prabhupada," which is a common practice in our movement. People put Prabhupada's in the background, chanting japa. And Prabhupada said, "Not necessary." That's what he said about his own japa. So we take it as granted that Prabhupada's japa is better than ours, and that may enthuse us to chant better japa. But Prabhupada said it's not necessary. We still do it. And this is, so it's not like everything that Prabhupada said is eternal and universal and to be used in every circumstance. Prabhupada said very specific things to specific people, which are not to be followed by others. They are not written in the books hundreds of times, like the universal instructions that Prabhupada gave. And going back to your comment, Sahadev Prabhu, Maharaj Yudhishthira was never praised by his attitude about despondency and depression because of the widow-making operation that Kurukshetra was. He was never praised as saying, "Oh, he's such noble king," like Arjuna's intention of giving up the fight in the name of compassion. That was never praised. Krishna called him a fool, actually. He said, "You're speaking high words, but you're not making any sense." So Prabhupada said discrimination is the better side of valor. We have to try to understand what are the real instructions. And if we can't, then we have to find someone who does. And if our children are not able to make the transition, to make this take the step to understand that someone who loves them and has more common sense and more experience than they do and want their good are there to advise them, and then they just decide to go with their own, of course they're going to find whatever results they find, and they have no one to blame but themselves. So it's a delicate line that one walks on. And again, the main issue here is love and trust. And you were saying it's difficult to worship Krishna this way. Well, Krishna loves you. Are you ready to love him back? So what's the problem? Krishna loves you already, more than you love yourself, more than you love him. And he's only expecting for you one day to love him back. Is it difficult to worship Krishna? Yeah, it's difficult because of the baggage that we carry. But it's unnecessary. Just like we found out being in Europe we took so much luggage with us, and it became such an inconvenience. And we do this every year. You just keep doing it, the same thing. Okay, let's pack light. We're not gonna need that much. But we say, well, but we may not find washing machines, or yeah, and we end up carrying unnecessary stuff that we have to lug through airports and train stations. So are you ready to give up are you ready to pack light and love Krishna back? I'm not, but maybe you are.
Actually, that is the right answer. No. But yeah, well, thank you for that comment that marriage in Israel was not actually recognized for such attitude or behavior. So, wow. Well, I agree that from my stance, from where I am now, worshiping Krishna is not easy. But if I were in the proper mood, my original mood, which is eternally a servant of Krishna, then it will be okay, it will be normal, it will be easy for me. But at the moment,
because we think that we have to make one decision, and then that decision will take care of all the other decisions. In Krishna consciousness, it's not like that. You make a decision every moment. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do the right thing. And if you don't, then you have to pay for the bad decision that you made and start making good decisions again. It's not like you sign the dotted line, you're in bhakti and you're done. You're not done. You're starting. So we have to actually put that into perspective, that Krishna consciousness is the practice of bhakti second after second, not even minute after minute. Every moment you can make a bad decision or a good decision, and it depends entirely on you.
Wow, that is kind of heavy.
Yep, that's you.
Wow.
When you join, you should have known that.
Well, we pray the Lord guides our intellect, so we do the right thing. Anyone else with something to share before we call it a day? Oh, Shimavara Acharya Prabhu. Oh, in fact, excuse me, Shimavara Prabhu, sorry, before you ask your question or share your reflections, dear devotees, I was just reminded that today, I hope is the right thing. Today is the appearance day of His Grace Sriman Vara Acharya Prabhu. And if it is, I believe it is, we are all very, very, especially myself, I am very, very grateful that Sriman Vara Acharya Prabhu is my big brother. He's been my mentor ever since I became a devotee. I think maybe a year after I became a devotee that I got to know him. He's been my mentor since then till today, and hopefully till I drop this body. And it is our honor and also a privilege that we can have your presence in this Sangha almost every single day. So, dear devotees, today is the Divine Appearance Day of His Grace Sriman Vara Acharya Prabhu. And of course, after he is done speaking, we're going to do something a little in his honor. So, Sriman Vara Acharya Prabhu, please you may unmute. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Please accept
Hare
my humble
Krishna.
obeisance. SARVATMA Prabhu. All glories to the Prabhupada, all glories to the Assembly. Thank you very much for the wonderful discussion. I'm kind of, well, thank you also you for your answers to start this question. You asked very enigmatic question, especially saying that it's difficult to worship Krishna. And I'm just thinking, whether that's not what he meant to say. Maybe he meant to say it's difficult to love Krishna unconditionally. Yeah, because people worship, anybody, people with a little power, a little influence very easily. But to love unconditionally and to surrender to everything Krishna wants, that requires a lot of intelligence, a lot of knowledge. And just if you have to think about it, that you do not see everything, you do not know everything. And that is what makes us different from Krishna. Krishna sees everything, he knows everything, and he knows past, present, and future. So whatever decision that Krishna is taking, or whatever he's asking anyone to do, is based on what we cannot see. And it's just good for us if we just surrender to that without, belaboring our mind about whether it is what I want or not. So I think that is what we need to understand. And I'm saying this because we're on the internet, and people shouldn't think that Krishna is a difficult God. It's difficult to worship Krishna. No. Our unconditional surrender and love for God depends on how much we really understand Him. And understanding Him, that has been given in the scriptures, that God knows everything. He knows past, present, and future. So every time Krishna is saying, do this, is because He knows that at the end of it all, it's going to benefit everybody. Krishna is seeing the benefit of everybody, of everyone. So it may look like bad now, but later on we'll say, wow. So anyway, that's the little contribution I want to make. That we cannot say that it's difficult to worship God, that it may be difficult to surrender to Him unconditionally because of our little understanding. We don't have much knowledge. But when we surrender, we thank Him for whatever that He does in our life. One last point. One day I had just once Gurudev was passing by, and in my office I had this sticker on my laptop, on the back of my desktop. There was a sticker. Everything God does is love, even though we may not understand it. And Gurudev picked on that. And when he came to give class, and he spoke a lot elaborately on that is a very good mood to have. That everything Krishna does, everything God does is love, even though we may not understand it. So in that case, we cannot say that it's difficult to understand, to love, or to worship. It's because we do not really understand what is happening, but He knows. He knows that. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Sri SARVATMA, do you have something to say?
No, well said. I have nothing to add to that.
Well, thank you. It's amazing. There are some souls who are very intelligent. I've been reading, I'm not reading, I've been listening to some readings of Edgar Casey. And in some of his writings, he does talk about certain souls, how smart they are, and how they make decisions to appear in different families and things like that. So there are some souls that I believe are so intelligent in the sense that this is a very auspicious month. We've had the appearance of Sri Balaram, we have had the appearance of Sri Krishna himself, we've had the appearance of Sri Prabhupada, and we're going to have the appearance of Srimati Radharani in a few days to come. And so I just learned that His Grace SARVATMA Prabhu, our precious speaker for today, yesterday was his birthday also. So
Wow.
yes, so we truly and honestly would like to wish you a very, very warm Krishna conscious belated birthday to your grace, Shri Sarvatma Prabhu. Sarvatma Prabhu, I don't know how it happened, but it just happened that we just met, and immediately I became a junior brother, and he's been treating me like that ever since we got to know each other, and that is why I don't know what I did in my previous life, but I always say to myself, especially yesterday, when His Grace Brahmatirtha Prabhu was speaking, I was thinking to myself, if I do not go back home, back to Godhead in this lifetime, then I will have to hit my head against the rock, because everything I need to go back home in this lifetime has been given to me. If I do not go back home and I do not lament, then it means maybe Krishna says, okay, crazy Sahadev, I do not want you to come back home. I want you to engage in this service for me somewhere else within the material world. Then there is no problem. But we've been given so much, everything any single soul needs to get himself purified to go back home, back to God at this lifetime, are all readily given to us. It's up to us how we make good use of them. So, like I'm saying, personally, now as I'm speaking, I have these two great souls. His Grace Sarvatma Prabhu. Yesterday was his birthday, and then today is the appearance day of His Grace Sriman Acharya Prabhu. So, devotees, let's make good use of what has been given to us. That's just what I wanted to say. It's not just me alone. All of us are very much opportune to have whatever we need to go back home in this particular lifetime. So let us run away and shun this procrastination that, oh, if I don't do it this time, I will do it next life. We've been saying that in so many lives. And this is the life time that, this lifetime that we can go back home if we so choose to. Well, I've been talking so much. Sri Sarvatma Prabhu, if you may have some sort of concluding remark, please, you may do so. And we say happy appearance day to His Grace Shumavara Acharya Prabhu, and belated happy birthday to Sarvatma Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Much obliged. I am honored and privileged to be among you, and humble to have been given an opportunity to share some of however little Krishna consciousness I have. So I hope it will happen again, and I wish Sriman Bharacharya a happy birthday as well.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you all. Devotees, if no one has something else to say, then we probably going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute yourselves, and we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation to our revered speaker, His Grace Sarvatma Prabhu, and also to our beloved mentor and guru, to some of us here, His Grace Sriman Varaha Acharya for their blessings, and also, of course, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada for creating this amazing family for us all to be able to share and go back home. So please, you may all unmute. Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Chakalpatarubhyascha, Kripasindhyayevacha, Patitanam
Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha.
Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki
Jai.
Jai. Glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
All glories to His Grace SARVATMA Prabhu ki Jai.
Jai.
All glories to His Grace Srimad Varaha Acharya Prabhu ki Jai. And all
Jai.
some Vaishnava devotees ki Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare